Hi Year Fives and welcome to Thursday's English session. And today we are going to be writing again some effective sentences for our own prologues. We're going to be focusing on the following, using semicolons in a list, complex sentences, in particular relative clauses, and using again some alliteration to deepen our descriptions. Let's just review then some of the grammar that we have seen this week. So this week we saw modal verbs for possibility. And we used them, didn't we? Describe the crowd's thoughts as this strange shop appeared. It might not stay for long. It could be dangerous. Could it be magic? Can you remember the modal verbs were? That's right. We used might and could, didn't we, as our modal verbs. So modal verbs can be used to show how possible something is or how likely it is to happen or has happened. So for example, he's very late. He could have missed the train. It's snowing, so it must be very cold outside. They will lock the windows when they go out. Can you see that will makes it sound as if it is certain? If I changed will to could, they could lock the windows when they go out. It doesn't sound as certain, does it? Can you spot the modal verbs used to show possibility in these sentences? Mum might take us swimming after school. Where's the modal verb in that? That's right, might. You could eat a banana instead of those sweets. What's the modal verb? Could. Well done. Hurry up, we will be late, said Dad. Will is the modal verb, isn't it? Lovely. Okay, so we are going to quickly practice our spelling. So let's have a look at these spellings here. Remember, we use ent for the adjective and ence or entsy to describe the nouns. So zoom in on those spellings there, and I'm going to give you a quick practice spelling test. And the words that I am going to be asking you to spell are existence. So focus in on existence. How could you break it up? Confident is the other word that I am going to ask you to spell. Confidence and excellent. So zoom in on those spellings. You might want to pause the video now as you zoom in on them, and you might even want to practice speed writing them. And then I'm going to test you on those 4 spellings. So pause the video now and practice those spellings. Okay, and now I am going to give you the spelling test. Are you ready? Number 1, existence. Existence. Number 2, confident. Number 3, confidence. And number 4, excellent. So we had existence, confident, confidence, and excellent. Check them. Did you get them right? Yeah. Think about those endings. All you need to remember is ent, E-N-T, and unce, E-N-C-E. Right, let's review to see where we have got so far in our writing. So far, we have described the bricks, the colour of the shop, and we've described the ripple of excitement that is passing through the crowd. So let's read on, because this is the part that we will be describing today. There was a glimmer of movement in the entranceway, and a ripple of excitement passed through the crowd. And then silence fell, a silence so deep and heavy that it seemed to hang in the atmosphere like mist. The shop's door swung open. The fine golden gate turned to dust, scattering in the wind. The air was suddenly alive with 100 scents. The the perfume of toasted coconut and baking bread, of salty sea air and freshly fallen rain, of bonfires and melting ice. A dove emerged from the darkness of the shop and soared through the air, wings flashing white in the blackness. The enchanted crowd watched as it climbed until it was lost to the night. And then, as one, they gasped. The black sky exploded with light and colour, and a message in dazzling fireworks, sparks, and shimmers spelled out, "The Nowhere Emporium is open for business. Bring your imagination." The writing hung in the air just long enough for everyone to read it, and then the words began falling to the ground, a rain of golden light. The crowd laughed in delight, reaching out to catch the sparks as they fell. Everybody who'd gathered outside the Emporium was entranced. No one had ever seen a spectacle such as this. One by one, they walked forward, touching the sparkling black brickwork, examining the tips of their fingers, and then they stepped through the door to find out what was waiting. So in this section, we are going to be describing the door as it swings open and the strange smells that they can smell. Then we're going to describe the dove mysteriously emerging from the cavernous darkness or the darkness of the shop and soaring into the air with flashing white. And then the third part we're going to describe is the fireworks coming out and exploding to spell out the words, "The Nowhere Emporium is open for business. Bring your imagination." So those are the three things that we are going to be describing today. Let's look back at smell. So we're going to be using semicolons. This is a semicolon in a list. Now we use semicolons to help to simplify lists by showing which items are grouped together. So this semicolon here tells me that the perfume of toasted coconut and baking bread is one group of smells together. And if you notice here, just before I start my list, I've used a colon. Now, a colon, as you can see, is made up of two dots, one on top of each other. A semicolon is made up of a dot and a comma underneath. So on a piece of paper, can you write down as many words that you can think of which are associated with smell? I've got a whiff, waft, fragrance, scent, pungent, odorous, acrid, strong, and sweet. So write down on your piece of paper some words to do with smell. Pause the video now. So what smells can you imagine coming from the mysterious shop? Could it be food, weather, flowers, or trees? Let's have a look at the example here. The floating fragrance of popping corn and roasting potatoes. One group of smells, so I've used my semicolon. Of thunderous clouds and salty snowflakes, and I've used my semicolon. Freshly turned soil and pine trees. Can you see that I've grouped my smells up? So the first thing I did was food. The next thing I did was weather. And then lastly, I chose to do trees. So you might want to group your fragrances like that. And don't forget to use your semicolons to show the groups. Do that now on your piece of paper. And now we're going to talk about the dove. Now you remember the dove is just described like this. It says, a dove emerged from the darkness. And we are going to expand on that sentence by using a relative clause. And I know it's a relative clause because it's giving me extra information about the subject, which is here. And I've used a relative pronoun whose. A dove whose feathers glistened in the moonlight emerged from the darkness. A dove whose wings whispered among the crowds emerged from the darkness. So on your piece of paper, think about how you could start off that sentence and really give some extra information to the reader. So you could perhaps describe the glistening feathers in the moonlight, or the brilliant white feathers, or the movement of the wings whispered among the crowds. So have a go now at writing down your example of a relative clause to expand on the sentence about the dove appearing from the darkness. Do that now and pause the video. And then finally, we are going to talk about the fireworks that shoot out from the shop and spell out the Nowhere Emporium is open. So have a look, this beautiful picture here. How many words can you think of to describe the fireworks, the scene that you see there? So I've got a glow, a blaze, flashing, vivid, rainbow, erupt, flared, shattered, ruptured. What could you write on your piece of paper? Do that now. And then I have put them together to create some alliteration once more. The starless sky suddenly erupted with a fountain of flashing lights. Sparks of fireworks shattered and spelled out the Nowhere Emporium is open for business. Bring your imagination. So what could you write? I've got the starless sky suddenly. Fountain of flashing lights. You could do something like a flower of flashing lights. The starless sky suddenly erupted. You could do something about the rainbow. The rainbow ruptured and exploded in the night. So think about some alliteration that you could use to describe this beautiful scene. Imagine the fireworks coming out from the shop and spelling out that the Nowhere Emporium is open for business. And finally, once you have completed those 3 parts to your description, you could then illustrate the scene that you have just described. So let's just go back to what we were describing today. So you need to make sure that you've described these 3 aspects. So the door swinging open and the strange smells, the dove comes from the shop, and then the fireworks. So that is your writing for today using those techniques that we've discussed. And then another task, once you have done that, could you illustrate the scene that you have just described? And I look forward to seeing your work.